Welcome to another episode of Origins, a Creative Journey. Today, I'm very excited to have on my friend Courtney Daniels. Welcome to the show, Courtney.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Great having you. Super excited about this convo. So, would you please share with us your origin story? Tell us about your creative journey.
Without going back too far, I feel like the main thing to know about me is that I spent years writing screenplays here in LA. We moved here in 97, my husband and I started working as a receptionist at Morgan Creek Productions. I started writing my first script at my desk while answering phones, and I just kept doing that. I think my second or third script, I gave it to a great good friend of mine who's since become a big producer. And she read it and she was at the gym and she was on a treadmill and she turned to the guy next to her and she said, "My friend is going to be famous." And hilariously, that did not happen at all. I ended up writing like, I don't know, 14, 15 more scripts and just was getting nowhere. I'd try to get them to people, but just not much was happening. Sometimes I would get nice feedback and mostly I got a lot of criticism. And so I just kept rewriting and rewriting. And then finally, I just was so tired of trying to sell a spec script that I decided I had to make a short film, which I hate short films. I'm not into them. But I made my short film, immediately realized I want to direct a feature, and then spent like, I don't know, 4 more years being terrified of how I was going to do that and thinking I had to raise a ton of money. And then finally, I just decided I was going to make a feature for almost no money. And so that's how I got started just shooting movies myself. I mean, not that first one, I had a small crew. I had a DP and a crew. And then anyway, so that's how I got started.
That's super fascinating. And I love that story because you really never let even like the industry machinations get you down and dissuade you from pursuing filmmaking. Even before you moved to LA, had you always wanted to be a filmmaker, or was kind of writing more of a passion, or did you always want to direct? Can you tell us just a little bit more about that early inspiration to move out here?
I always joke that if you don't grow up in LA, you don't even know that directing is a job. You don't even know that screenwriting is a job. We went to movies, we watched movies obsessively. My family did. And I loved them, of course. I don't know when I became conscious of the fact that I could do that myself. But I definitely was always a writer, always did well in English class and would do well on papers and stuff like that. And I would try to write books. Like I tried to write a romance novel when I was in junior high. I think I got 2 pages in. I told my friends, let's write a romance novel. And so, but then at some point in my 20s, I definitely started thinking, oh, I want to go. My dad lived in Westlake Village, which is north of LA. He got moved here with Texaco. And so I started coming here in junior high. And it became much more on my radar of like, oh, I could move to Los Angeles and pursue, film. And so I started in my late 20s, I really started getting serious about like, well, maybe we should move to LA. And meanwhile, my brother-in-law, Steve, was already out here. So meanwhile, Jimmy's family loved movies. They were always going to art house films, just like my family was, which was unusual in our suburb in Houston, I think. And he's a writer. My husband's a writer. So we both were like, let's go to LA. Let's leave Houston and go to LA. And so we did that. And I knew I wanted to direct pretty early on, but I just thought, I'm laughing now at just what a ridiculous, like I thought, oh, I'll sell a spec script, which is like saying, I'm going to plan to win the lottery. And then somebody will give me the opportunity to direct a film, which is hilarious to me now. But that's what I thought for years, because it wasn't so stupid. I saw this happen to guys. It happened maybe to a woman or two, but it was mostly dudes. And then finally I was like, I don't know if I know any women that's happened to. And it was very few and far between. It took me a long time to see the forest for the trees. But yeah. And I hate to burst your bubble, Rick, but the machinations of Hollywood did get me down. Like I cried every 3 months. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where my career is going. I have no career. Like I just was always, and then I would start writing a new script. I would feel happy again. I'd be immersed in it. And I was hopeful, but it was always between projects. I'd be like, what am I doing? Where am I going? You know what I mean?
By the way, I follow this story completely 100%, and I'm 50 some years old, and I still feel that way between creative products. I don't think I don't think it ever
I'm
gets.
glad to hear that. Are you always surprised? Like, wait a minute, I'm depressed because I'm between projects. Thank you.
Literally, this was my lunch conversation today with my wife. She's like, "What's wrong?" I go, "It's the usual." She goes, "Oh, you're not doing anything creative." Yes.
Yeah, because that is our purpose, right? And so it's like if you go too long working out, shopping, or doing other weird life activities, you will one day look up and go, why am I here? What is it all about? You'll just be, you know what I mean? Like, and so you have to start making something again, I think.
I 100% also relate to this. And Courtney, thank you for saying how you're crying every 3 months, but you're still getting back in. And I think for a lot of people who want to do creative things, that period of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm not seeing the traction that I want in the industry or trying to sell my work or monetize or some way. What kept you going throughout those 15 scripts? Because I think that's something that like a lot of people just give up to, right? And so you definitely pivoted. You're making movies and you're writing scripts. And so what kept you going through that really tough time?
I joke that LA, like, and I put it in my movie, This Fucking Town, that LA is so difficult that it makes you rediscover God. You know, like you might not be a religious or spiritual person, but you will become one. You know what I mean? Because you got to hold on to something. Like you just have to. It takes either delusions of grandeur, like I'm meant to do this, or I don't know what else to do with myself. It seems like this is all I'm obsessed with doing. I think it really helps to have a partner or someone, a grandmother, somebody who believes in you. Because when I would get really down, Jimmy would be like, you're too legit to quit. And I had just enough positive feedback from people. Every once in a while, someone would say something to me that was wonderful, that really kept me going, that was praise for my work. And so it was just like the vaguest signpost that I was on the right path. But it was a lot of spirituality that kept me going, you know, just like talking to God, like, why am I here? Am I still supposed to be doing this? You know, please point me in a different direction if this is not, like, I would make lists all the time of I could sew, I could open a store. I was coming up with alternative careers all the time. And if I had any real desire to do these things, I would have. But it's like always like day 2, I'd be like, I feel antsy. I got to write a script. You know, like I couldn't stay away from it. I wanted to be away from it. Believe me, I'm like, so like when Chris Mays in your interview with him, when he said he tried filmmaking and he just kind of lost interest, I just was so envious. Like, oh, it'd be so great to just get over the wall, you know, like escape.
Oh, Courtney, I love you. Because I worked in entertainment and I have tons of friends who in a similar situation. There's
I
two
want to
types.
hear.
The first type is the type I hated. Like we would have an admin girl who was like, "Yeah, I'm working here because my boyfriend's home writing his script all day. He doesn't have a job yet, you know, because he's too busy." Yeah, you remember those? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like a band groupie, the woman who supports her husband, musician. Yeah.
And
I
the guy never
understand.
makes it anyway. And then the second one is the person who makes it. They're in entertainment with me. I'm building servers. I'm not in entertainment, but you're in
Okay.
entertainment, like, right? You're a
Yeah.
secretary, right?
Adjacent. Yeah.
You're adjacent. You go home and you bust your butt and you're trying to make it. And then most of those people, something happens to your point. Like, I want to be a writer. I'm going to write. Like, I have a friend who's the head of a major studio's production team and she wanted to be an actress. And now she's like legit, like she's top, but that wasn't the goal. You just kind of fall into it, right? You have fallen into it, but you have fallen into it still on the same path, if this makes sense.
Yeah. I had to find a different way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I stayed in it, but I got on a different horse, you know? Yeah.
I'd love to pick your brain because I got to do this for listeners. Like my friend, I won't mention her name because I love her. She's like, okay, I got to get a job. Here's the job and it's close. And I love it because it's creative. I'm having fun, but I didn't act. That's different than you. I would love to hear when your brain goes, you know, I see this landscape and this is how I'm going to keep this creative bug from dying and go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It was, you know, you're so locked into a way that something's going to go that you can't see anything else, any other possibility. I was so holding on to this tree of I've got to sell a spec script. It didn't even occur to me that I could just go without passing go, no permission, no mother may I could just go and make a movie myself. It took a long time for me to wrap my head around that, because in LA, the Hollywood way is to have a crew and do things the proper way. I know that, you have auteur filmmakers who grew up with a camera in their hand and they go make films all the time since they were 8 years old. But I did not come from that. And I was part of well, you have to get started. You sell a spec and then you get to direct something. And I was so locked into that pathway that it really screwed me for a long time, because I just didn't think any other way, And then finally I was like, F it. I have to just direct. I have to give myself permission. No one else evidently no one's going to knock on my door and offer me a chance to direct. And I always tell people this, don't be waiting. No one is going to knock on your door. Like, please stop waiting. You don't even phrase it that way to yourself. Like, well, I'm waiting, but you are waiting. That's what you're doing. So I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I applied to the AFI directing workshop for women. I was still looking for help. I was still looking for people to make it easier. And here's what I tell people. It's just like the Mark Duplass, the cavalry isn't coming. I was like, no one's coming for me. And even though that's a harsh fact, it was what liberated me. So now I'm done waiting. I have to just go. I'm starting the journey without anybody helping me. You know what I mean?
This is so great. Okay. How long, because we all do it. I'm 50 now. We all do it. Yeah. How long before you go, fuck it, I got to do this myself? Fuck it, I can't, it's not the ABC. How long does that take for your brain to go?
For me, it was like 8 years. I was writing screenplays. I had all these buddies. We all were writers. We were all writing spec scripts. We were writing adult dramas, romantic comedies, not even realizing they're not even making these movies anymore. Like, it just started that was during my time that those things went away. You know what I mean? There's no more Absence of Malice, The Verdict, Jagged Edge, like all these movies I grew up watching and admiring, they're gone. We'll just put our heads down and write the next script. So it took a while for us to realize, God, they're not even making these movies that we're still writing and trying to sell. But it took like 8 to 10 years.
I'm just a big fan of yours, Courtney. Your story is so fascinating because I think you've had the time to really reflect and really shift how you even look at the kind of creative landscape, especially in LA. And so I'd love to hear more about this transition to filmmaking, because for everyone who doesn't know, Courtney wrote a book about how to shoot a film with a very low budget. And so I would love for you to walk us through that first film that you're shooting yourself with. What was the process from you going from, all right, fuck it, I need to make this myself? Oh, wait. So then what did you do after that?
Yeah, probably a lot of people, it's like you go through this degrees, these phases of, I need help. Okay, I'm going to have to do with no help. I'm going to have to do with even less help. I'm going to have to do with no, because you can't wrap your head around it at first. If someone said to me, there's going to come a point where you get a camera, learn how to use it, you're going to learn rudimentary lighting, you're going to learn how to record sound, I'd be like, you are high. Okay. I'm terrified of my watch. I won't even set my watch. There's no world in which I'm going to do any of that. To me, I had gotten my PhD in screenwriting. I had studied it from every angle. I read all the books, rewrote a million drafts of every script. So to me, I was like, I did a lot of learning. I don't want to have to, why do I have to learn? It didn't even occur to me that I could learn. I was even capable of learning how to use a camera or sound gear or whatever. So for the first movie, I had a small crew. It was like 10 or 11 people. I had a DP. I had sound people. And you spend all your money on that first film. And you call in all your favors on that first film. And then if that doesn't make you famous, you have to find a way to make your second film. I don't know if you know the statistics, but they used to be really bad. I'm guessing they still are, that 98% of people who make a feature never make another one again. And I get it, because it's so hard and you blow all your money and blah, 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 and you don't get it back. And so then for the second one, I had not saved up. We couldn't just, all right, we're going to immediately spend another chunk of money. So we did spend a little money to shoot a pilot for this series I wanted to do. And I was calling it This Fucking Town. And after I spent that money, making this, I was like, I can't keep spending money to shoot more episodes of it. This is just not smart. We haven't even made the money back from the first thing we shot. You know what I mean? So I really was at a crossroads and I was really depressed. And I hated production. It was very stressful to me to have a crew, not because I don't love crew. Believe me, it's a wonderful luxury, but it was like, it was stressful to try to stretch and afford all these people. I just felt like I was out of my depth, like I can't do this. And so I made this list of like all the things that were bumming me out. And I was like, how can I solve all these problems that I'm up against right now? And of course, the big answer staring me in the face was do it all yourself. Like, do it all yourself. And that was like something really hard to accept. I was like, I can't do it all myself. But then eventually, if you want to keep going and you don't have endless money to finance you, you're like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to, And so I took it piece by piece. I was like, I need the camera, I need some lighting, and I need sound gear. And I just bought these items. I started playing with them. It was around October, I think in 2015 or 16. And I would shoot, like my mom came for Christmas and my niece, I shot them on the couch. I would shoot our dogs. I was just practicing getting footage all the time. And I was so excited at that point in my life by the possibilities. I was leaping out of bed in the morning. And that was such a surprise to me because I never thought I would be that person. I never thought I literally would take a camera out of the box and hand it to my DP. I was terrified of it, did not want to touch it, knew nothing about lenses, nothing. Imagine the person who knows nothing about the technical aspects of filmmaking. That was me. And so I went from that to teaching myself how to do these things. And I did it just well enough to where, like in February of the next year, I was shooting. So I started shooting This Fucking Town, the second episode, by myself, putting lav mics on the actors, putting my camera on the tripod, and setting up some lights and, just that's how I started shooting.
Holy cow, Courtney. So much is running through my head. Like, rewind a little bit, because you reminded me of the interviews with Robert Townsend, who, maxed out every credit card he had to make his first movie, and he was successful.
Was it Hollywood Shuffle or what was that?
Yes, it's Hollywood Shuffle.
I remember that was a big sensation. Yeah.
Massive sensation, and he maxed out all his credit cards and paid it back. But to your point, that's the 1%. But, everyone tells you, look at Robert Townsend. He did it. Like, this is the way you do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Kevin Smith, right? A lot of people, that's how they do the first one, is they max out the credit cards.
Yep.
And because you got to find the money somehow. And then but then you're left with, if it doesn't go to film festivals and it's not a springboard for your career, then you're left with, well, then how do I make the next one?
Yeah, because Hollywood Shuffle is just a rarity. And by the way, any listener, go see the movie. The movie critic scene alone is the best part of that whole movie. Anyways.
I got to see that again. I'm thrilled you brought that up. I've been looking for something to watch. So I'm going to rewatch that one.
And we talk about this all the time on this show, the imposter syndrome, because Chris loves it because he has massive imposter syndrome. And I'm finding more and more creatives do. Now you're like, okay, F it, I'm going to do it myself. I'm just going to buy this stuff and teach myself. Walk the listeners through that, because you're not technical. I get it. Like, it's got to be terrifying. Like, how do you get over that hump? How do you force yourself? And David Bowie's running through my head with how I do it. Like, how do you force yourself to just fucking do it? Like, beat that demon in your head. And I'm going to shut up.
What I think helps, because that's a great question, right? Of how do you overcome that? Because it's so potent. I no longer think it's worth mentioning that it's like we all have imposters. Like, everyone thinks they're not good enough. Everyone thinks they can't, except for extreme narcissists, maybe, right? But
except for Elon Musk, and look at that kind of person. Yes.
Yeah. People who, are delusional or whatever. But I think that, what I think really helps, Chris, is I think having a screenplay. Because if you have a script queued up and you're dying to see it brought to life, it's much easier than if you don't have that and you're like, well, I don't know what to shoot. It's too much to overcome. It's too much. I'm not saying it's impossible, but some people maybe fly by the seat of their pants and just start improvising, and that's wonderful. They should. It helps me to have a script that's ready to go, that's tailor-made for a low-budget shoot. Because then it's like, okay, I just have to do this thing. I have to set the camera on the tripod and, call the actors and, like, it's close. You're very close if you got that script and it's ready to go.
It's so different than like when you talk to Spielberg, who he didn't have scripts. He just shot things. Like,
Yeah.
but you're coming from a writer's perspective that this is my baby, my child, this thing I totally believe in, and I want to see it.
Yes, that's right. And so he was, I guess Spielberg was not a natural born writer or whatever, or he hadn't, that's not what he was busy learning skills at, right? So yeah, well, like a lot of our comedic actor friends, they're used to improvising. That's a way in that works for them.
What I'm hearing, Courtney, is that it's really about leaning into the strengths of how you work and figuring out, oh, is there a specific scaffolding that helps me, or am I more of a kind of, fly by improvisational type person? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way. Like, yeah, like whatever is your formula for success, like I do best when I just leap in with both feet without a plan. Or no, I like having the script pages ready to go, identifying which scene I'm shooting first, and then I'm just going to methodically bag scenes and check them off the list. Like whichever is your way. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm a huge fan of your book because I've read a lot of filmmaking books, but yours is one of the few that tells me what I needed to know to be able to start shooting. Like you even have a chapter where like, oh, you can even make a film with your phone. You go through having a decent camera and knowing what lenses to buy, but you're explaining pretty much every technical aspect from lighting to sound to, focal depth and all of this other stuff. Tell me what inspired putting all of this together in a book and sharing it with people, because I know you started out looking to tell stories and make movies, and then what was the inspiration behind the book?
After the pandemic, like my imagination was just not working. I was not generating ideas for plots for my next script. And so I was like, you know what would be great is just to stop like right now and just write this book, because I didn't have to make up anything. My imagination didn't have to work. I only needed to get down what I already knew, had already learned the hard way. And I was excited to encourage other people to do it, to shoot without a crew or to shoot with a crew if they have like $35,000 at least or whatever. I wanted to save people the horrible, just all the legwork, learning stuff. Like it could be so expedited if you would just read my book, and at least you'll have just a much better starting ground, like a base to come from. And I like adding to my body of work. That's always my obsession, is to add to my body of work. So if I can't ship it, it's not real. I write a Substack, I have a newsletter. All of those things are great. And I post on Instagram like everybody else. But it's like, if I can't put it in a vessel and publish it or release it, then I don't care about it. To me, it doesn't have as much value. And so I wanted a book to put on my bookshelf. That helped me to look at it that way, as, oh, this is just another finished piece of work that I've made.
That's super cool. I'm also very remiss, and I'm tempted to go run and actually grab my copy of your book so I can be like, I've got it here. But actually, the reason it's not here is because it's actually next to my bed, because I keep looking at it all the time. So,
oh, yay. I'm so glad, Rick. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait for you to shoot something.
I can't wait either. It's a great book. And I don't say that lightly, but I really do think it's a really great resource for people who just want to tell stories. I think regardless of whether or not you see yourself as a filmmaker, I think your book really empowers people to use video as a medium in whatever way, shape, or form. So definitely get yourself a copy of Courtney's book. We will link it in the show notes. So Courtney, you've now finished writing your book. Like, what other kind of creative projects are you up to? Like, what other directions are you going? Are you going back to filmmaking? Tell us more about what's on the horizon for you.
Yeah, I did a year in review exercise once several years ago, where you look back at your calendars and see what you accomplished during the year. And I listed all this stuff, like, oh, I did a lot of still photography, I blah, blah, blah. And I realized that there was nothing on there like I wrote my next feature script, or I started pre-production, or I made a movie. I realized, oh, that's really the only thing I really care about. That's what I want to accomplish. To me, it's a good year if I have moved toward making my next movie. And if I didn't, it was not a great year. That's how I look at it, right or wrong. So now I'm just back to being obsessed with like, okay, like I'm past my pandemic depression, past midlife passage depression, all the depressions, and now I'm just obsessed. I'm like, can't run fast enough. So I just finished my latest feature script. I'm trying to get it to certain actors. I don't usually like to try to get stars attached to a script because I think it's largely hopeless when you don't have a big name and you don't have big money to offer or a second degree of separation, you know? So, but there's a guy I want, and so I'm trying to get him. And if I can't, then I'll work with unknowns again, which I love all the actors I've worked with so far. They've been unknown to me. They're stars. They're amazingly talented. I don't want just a star for the sake of working with a star. I want someone who's really good because you're just so much safer if you cast someone who you know can deliver, like who's amazing. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. And while I'm waiting, I don't like to wait. I'll be writing my next script. I just want to get another one started. You know, I mean, I want to skip the depression, the spinning my wheels for, 7 months, not knowing why I'm becoming more and more depressed. I would like to skip that this time and just go right into the next project.
I love that. And so I already know what you're going to say because I think you would cover this in the book. But as a filmmaker, where you're like, oh, I need other actors, how do you go about that for young filmmakers out there who are, if they're more of a writer and they don't really think about shooting films themselves? Like, how would you suggest they go about getting a cast? Because I know you're kind of do it yourself on the crew side, but for the casting, how would you go about finding actors or finding quality actors?
Yeah, it's tough because really, I think the ideal thing is if you have a friend or someone in your life already who's charismatic. They don't have to be beautiful. They don't have to be Brad Pitt. I feel like as long as they're charismatic, like you just find them funny or interesting or weird, or they're compelling, then I would absolutely try to write something that they could be in, that you could cast them as your lead. I really think it's ideal to work with friends or family because you can get them to keep showing up to shoot more scenes. It can be hard to corral everybody and to make everyone care about a super low budget, low profile project. Understandably, people are concerned about spending their time on those kind of projects. So either that or you're already in Hollywood or New York and you have some access to actors. And like you go to some plays and you're like, that guy or that girl, they're really good. Like I would save playbills and I would circle faces of people who I found really good. And so I have yet to call on any of these people, but it's like I keep a folder just like in case I want to go to those people.
I want to dig a little on this because that's a fascinating way to look at it. So you find these actors, friends, and everything else, and you're not on a Hollywood budget. Oh, I think I know the answer. How do you convince these people to come play with you?
Have a great script. Try to get that script in as good a shape as possible to where the roles are tempting to people.
And then they'll just come along for the ride with you.
Yeah, I think people who've been around the block a little, they are observing you. And if you don't seem like a serious person, if you seem flaky, I think they won't. Like a smart an emotionally intelligent person is not going to cast their lot with you if you don't seem like you're going to deliver. So I think you have to be serious. You have to take yourself seriously. If you have ADHD, you got to try to rein it in so that when people show up, you are ready to shoot. You're not messing around. You're not unfocused. I remember, I think on What Other Couples Do, my first movie, I remember a couple days in, one of the actors kind of tipped me off to what they were all talking about behind the scenes of like, oh, this is serious because they're clocking it, like, is this going to be a good movie? We don't know. We think it's actually seeming like, oh, maybe this is going to be something, but they've been burned enough times on not serious productions that just go into the wee hours of the night, like just working these super long hours, and they can tell maybe there's not a vision or whatever. Like they have their concerns, right? And then they end up seeing the final product and maybe it's not good. And so, you want to try to be trustworthy and take very seriously what you're doing so you're not wasting their time.
And that way too, Courtney, not words in your mouth, that gives you more validity as somebody when the next project comes along because it's a community. No, it's like any other community.
And if you've proven to be a flake, they're not coming back, right?
And their friends aren't coming back. And
why would they?
Taught me more some of the other ways you've built that brand. You have a trust in this community. You've legitimized yourself, but it just didn't happen on that first one. Like, walk me through the things that you've done to make yourself legitimate in the eyes of people you're working with? Like, oh, I got to work with Courtney. You're in a film industry. What is it in the film industry that you have to do as a filmmaker to start out as the ground to legitimize yourself and build on?
I think finishing things, showing that you're a person who says what you're going to do and then does what you say you were going to do, that helps build trust. They've seen finished thing that they know that I finished that first movie. There was a cast and crew screening. We watched it together. They saw that the story tracked. It made sense. It worked. And so then it's like, okay, then maybe I would follow her lead on a second movie. Not everyone will feel that way, but hopefully a lot of people will. Some people will be like, lady, I got to do studio projects and I got to make money. And so I'm not playing with you. You know what I mean? And I respect that. I understand that. But the people who want good roles and who want it to result in a finished film that will live online, that people can go watch, that they can put snippets on their reel. A lot of people in LA don't ever get to do their cartwheel. It's like 98% of the time you're just trying to make a living or survive. And 2% of the time you get to actually do the thing you came here to do, like act or write or direct or whatever. So I think for some people, it's like, thank you. I just want to act. This is a script. This is a role for me. And you're shooting it. I'm in. I would imagine that's how I would feel. And it's going to result in something. I'm not going to sit on the footage for 5 years. You're going to have a movie that you can show your parents, that you can send people to on Amazon and they can go watch it.
That is such a great point. I think that follow through is so important. But you brought up Amazon. And so I think I just want to kind of dive into this a little bit more for maybe people who have already, they're finishing their film or they're wrapping up something, distribution, right? Because that's the whole other ballgame of beyond just shooting a film. It's getting people to watch it or making it available for people to watch. And so could you walk me through maybe like any advice you would give to people who have a finished short or a finished feature? What would you tell them about getting started with getting their film actually out to viewers?
Well, I have one other thing to say regarding whether you can attract actors to work with you again. I think if people feel valued, I make it very clear that I can't do anything without actors and that my stuff will not turn out well if I don't have decent actors, if not great actors. So I'm always very grateful for what actors do. I feel like it takes an incredible courage to do what they do. So I try to voice it often that I love them, that I'm proud of them, that I'm excited about their performances. So I think that's another thing you can do is get across your gratitude that they're willing to trust you and go with this project. So I think that's something, if I could just take a little moment to say why I hate short films, because I would prefer nobody make a short film, that you would just make a feature. Because if you just start stitching together scenes, you can end up with 90 minutes of material with any luck that has some kind of arc or some kind of impact. So why not do that? Like, to me, a 7 to 10 minute, 14 minute, if it's 14 minutes, it's too long. You won't get into as many film festivals, supposedly, because they're trying to program as many as they can. So it's like 7 minutes or whatever it is now, whatever they're saying is the ideal limit on a short film right now, is not enough to get you scrunched down in your seat and feel like, oh, this is going to be good, and to be pulled into a story. To me, it's very ungratifying. Like, even the best short film in the world just leaves you like, okay, well, now I wish I was watching a movie of this, not just 7 minutes. So it's like, and they always have a gimmick, like, oh, the surprise thing at the end. It's like a reveal. I'm just not into them. And there's nothing to do with them once you make them. You put them in a festival, you have the ego stroking of going to the festival and everybody telling you it's great. And it's like, and what you realize is you want to make a feature. And you don't monetize them. There's not a lot of people out there who are like, I just want to watch short film after short film. It's like, I don't think so. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, you make a short film, I guess, if you just want to learn and you want it to be your training ground, but do not do it as a proof of concept. I don't know a single person who has sold a project on their proof of concept. I'm sorry. I don't know anyone who has. It's a beautiful idea. I've debated it myself, but I've never seen it work. Okay. A lot of times people just spend a lot of money on a good short film and then they're on to the next, well, okay, now I want to make a feature. So just make a feature. That's my thing. Most distribution deals are not good, even with big name distributors that you've heard of. are not good. They're exploitative. There's too many people in the deal already. You need to have as few links in the chain as possible because it's very little money that's getting divvied up. Okay. So to me, you just go to Film Hub, upload your movie, and they will take it to every streaming platform that might want to carry it. If you end up on Amazon, that's the most important thing because that's where you're going to make most of your money. And it's not great money, I will tell you right now. So, but you want to be on Amazon or Tubi or Pluto. And I think if it does well on Amazon Prime, Amazon puts it into their freebie library. If it's a low budget, low profile movie, you know what I mean? And you actually, that's where you make your money, is through streams of that. I feel like if you take away nothing from this conversation, you should remember this one thing. When you set out to make a project, the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is have a poster, a log line, and a title that makes people want to click. I don't care if it's clickbait, that's what you want. The quality is up to you. I hope you make it as good as possible and that it's not just clickbait. In fact, what I've been told by the founder of Film Hub is that you want to have a trailer and title and poster that absolutely captures the reality of your movie. You don't want to fake people out, make them think it's funnier than it is, make them think it's scarier than it is. You want to, as accurately as possible, capture what you've really got in that 90 minutes in your trailer and in your log line. And if you do, what that means, the reason that's so important is because then people know what they're getting. You're not trying to hide the weenie. You're being clear about what they're getting. Then they're on board with it. If they watch your trailer and it accurately captures the tone, pace, whatever of your movie, then they know what they're getting and they're much more likely to finish it. And the reason that's important is if they don't finish your movie, the algorithm learns not to show it to more people. I'm done with my soapbox. I feel like that's very key information and I hope people remember it and use it.
I wish the people who made Iron Giant listened to you all those years ago, but that's a whole story.
There's a lot of movies that we've been bamboozled into. Yeah.
Listeners, go look up the whole marketing of Iron Giant and the guy and how pissed he was. I want to play more on this because I think it's a compliment. I'm a huge Roger Corman fan, and you're saying a lot of stuff that if you listen to Corman, it was all about the title and the poster. I just had to get those out. And sometimes he would make those before making the movie.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Yeah.
Yes.
It's smart. It's just smart. Okay. Like, yeah. And reverse engineer it. What would people watch? And then write it. Yeah. What do people want to see? And then go write that.
Yeah, I was curious on that. Like, I'll go back to Corman, Death Race 2000. He made the movie poster and goes, okay, we're making this movie. Like, there's no script. And
then his director probably did it in 2 days with like, what does he say? He could shoot the Roman War with 2 bushes and 2 soldiers or something. Like, that's it, right? Like, don't need a lot of stuff.
I'd love to get your thoughts on not needing a lot of stuff and just shooting by your pants and feed it in. Because Death Race 2000, the guy shot it and Corman's like, I need 2 hours. And Corman went back out and shot it to be a little more gory. It was too funny. And he's like, okay, it needs to be gory. And spent 2 hours shooting, and that's the movie you got, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to get your insight on that. Like, how do you go, okay, this is what people are looking for. Now make it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It's not like I'm sitting there going, what do people want? It's more like I'm thinking, how can I put what I want to explore in a vessel or in a plot that people would want to see? Because if it were up to me, I might just put a camera on 2 actors, a man and a woman, and just have them talk the whole time. And that would be my movie. But you can't do that. Nobody will sit through that, right? It's like My Dinner with Andre has already been done. So I always am trying to figure out, how can I make it palatable to explore all the things I want to say and talk about, in a plot that people would see.
Going on that, Courtney, like this idea of taking your own vision and making it more palatable. I'm also an aspiring screenwriter, so I'm reading a lot of books and listening to podcasts and stuff. And I feel like what I often wish was being shared was what not to do. And so I would love to hear, what are things that make a script or a film unpalatable to people? Like, what kind of things should I be avoiding when I'm working on a script to shoot myself for a low budget feature?
I think you should avoid writing something just that you think will have commercial value or that other people will want to see. I think you should absolutely write what you want to see, what you feel like does not quite exist. Because I think if you write about what you're obsessed with, you can't help but be interesting. Whereas if you just do a retread of your favorite kind of thing and there's no surprises and it seems paint by numbers and it seems formulaic is just another word for there's no surprises, right? But if there are little surprises like, oh, that's a thought-provoking idea that character just said. My surprises tend to come in ideas communicated through dialogue. But if yours come through horror movie trope, like blood, violence, or whatever, fine. That's great. That's what your audience wants. You know what I mean? But I think there has to be surprises. Because if there's no surprises, then it feels like we've seen this before. It's lame. I don't need to keep watching. I'm not in good hands. This filmmaker doesn't know what they're doing. It's boring. I think that's the biggest thing is if there's no surprise.
Can you define what surprise is to me as a moron?
Sure. Like, this is a perfect example. It's very chickish, okay? It's episode 5 of Sex and the City, season 4. Carrie is getting back together with Aiden, okay? He was a popular character, John Corbett. You don't know she wants to get back together at all. In fact, there's kind of misdirects, like, my relationship with Aiden was long dead. I wanted to sell the chair he made me, but I just couldn't quite let go of it. So you don't know that she wants to get back together. You want her to. The ideal is if you want the character, if you want something for them that they don't want yet, because then you're like really chomping at the bit for them to want it, okay? If it started out with just, I want to get back together with Aiden, you don't even have time to want that for her. So it's like Blake Snyder says, you got to go even back before the starting line. Take the audience all the way back before the starting line. She doesn't even want to get back together with Aiden, okay? It's not even on her radar. And then as the story unfolds, it's little bits that just climb this mountain of, they're just interesting reveals of, she thinks he invited her to the bar opening, Scout, the bar opening. And her friends are like, you should go. He's offering the peace pipe or the olive branch, And she's like, I don't know what this is, but I don't want to find out in some awkward confrontation because she treated him badly. They had a bad breakup. Okay. So she's embarrassed, but you don't know the extent to her guilt until she reveals that later in the episode. It's just like all these cool little bombs going off where you're like, I didn't know she was full of guilt and self-loathing. I didn't know she is now still attracted to him. Like it's just kind of thrilling for the viewers.
That's super awesome. What I think, what I'm hearing with the reveals and surprises is that they're interesting because they are lacking that formula that you're talking about, where like
it seems to be not according to form. It's actually very intelligent structure, right? That the writers have done, but you don't see the hand. Now's the moment where she gets angry at him, but you're not feeling that. It all feels fresh. And so, like, remember when everyone lost their minds over M. Night Shyamalan's first movie, I See Dead People, right? Everyone loved it because of the twist. I hated it, but just go with it. What is a twist except an extreme surprise? That's the ultimate surprise, right? There's tiny reveals on one end of the continuum of surprises, and then there's major twists, like Mulholland Drive. Betty and Rita are not what we thought they were. They are not nice women who are wholesome and have a sexy attraction to each other. Nope, they are bankrupt, morally terrible people. And that surprise blew my mind, okay? So it was a big realization I had just recently, going back to the books and studying story all over again. I was like, wait a minute, maybe what makes a good movie is surprises. If there's no surprises, that means it's boring. That means it's by the numbers. That means you're not in good hands. You don't need to keep watching. In the first 10 minutes, this person doesn't have anything new up their sleeve.
Given this, because you're in a great place, Courtney. You got me thinking of Quentin Tarantino, because if you ever see interviews with Quentin, he will tell you he's not a movie director. He's a writer. That's why, his last movie's coming. He's just going to write books because I can write.
Okay. Yep.
So I'd love to get your perspective of, so you're a writer and you're not.
I'm obsessed with the writing. Yeah.
I'd love to pick your brain a little, and it's on the same vein of what we're talking about. If you go back to the Howard Stern interview, like the reason Pulp Fiction is the one that's in different time zones.
Yeah, it's not linear. Yes.
It's non-linear. And he said the reason he wrote it non-linear, if I wrote it linear, it's boring. But by not, it's your little surprises, right?
Yes. Yes. And it blew people's minds, right? It was like, I was in a packed theater for that movie because you couldn't stream at that point, so you actually saw it in a theater with people. And I still remember the incredible energy in the air. Like we all just saw something that blew our minds. He's right. If you told it in order, he still has amazing dialogue and amazing characters and great violence for people who love violence. But it would have been a lot more straightforward, obviously. That what made it so interesting was you're keeping up with him like, oh, this is before. This is Uma Thurman and John Travolta on this kind of date, that they're not supposed to, it's not supposed to be a date. Like you're realizing, I think Spielberg said, if you keep changing, like, bam, we're going to put you in a new period of time or a new country or whatever, at least it won't be boring from that standpoint. At least the viewer will be trying to catch up and like, where are we? I got to figure it out.
So you can tell you and I are same elevator. We're not even on the same boat. I'm in the same elevator as you. I'm so close to what you're thinking. So when you're putting this stuff together, I'd love to hear how you work your process so you get the good stories.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
I mean, here's the thing. In order to create great surprises, you basically have to do some tricky stuff, right? You have to kind of misdirect people. You have to leave out. Two key ways to create the stage for a surprise is to misdirect the audience or to make them think one thing. So they're looking over here and bam, they didn't know this. So like in the Sex and the City episode, you're being misdirected. Well, he invited you. He sent her an invitation. He didn't send her an invitation. It was Steve, Miranda's ex-boyfriend, that sent her the invitation. So that was a surprise reveal. She's like, Aiden didn't invite me. She's finding this out and is mortified, like, oh my God, he does hate me still for how I treated him. And she throws this plant at Steve and runs out of the bar, because she got invited by Aiden. In Godzilla, they do a little trickery. You have to kind of do a little bit of BSing, okay? So they don't show you the mechanic showing him the ejector option, okay? They flash back to it. They do it so well, you don't hate them for it, okay? You don't really hold it against them. But it's like, if they showed you that, you wouldn't have the suspense of, oh my God, our hero's going to die when he kills Godzilla. Like, you have to withhold that. And they managed to do it in a way that was good enough to where you're like, all right, I'll give them that. That's fine. But so you have to do a little misdirecting or you have to withhold key information. It's kind of one or the other a lot of the time, right?
Yeah. And you're getting a point with Godzilla -1 because you got to give people clues too.
Yeah, so that they can say, oh, it was all there. Yeah, so they don't hate you as much. Like you kind of laid it in a little bit, we should have seen that coming. Then you kind of blame it on yourself versus them holding it. For people who are obsessed with storytelling and how to do it, I have one more thing that I got to share with you that recently blew my mind. I was like, why is it that by the end of a romantic comedy, we are willing to believe that, usually at least one character has to change. Okay? And somehow we buy that by the end of the movie, they have changed. So I was like, how is it that we buy it? Like, why do we buy that this person has actually changed by the end of the movie? And here's what I decided. You put the viewer through enough pain with the character fucking up, then making change, fucking up, then making change. Like they make 2 steps forward, 1 step, and so by the end, you're just ready to wave the white flag. You're ready to buy that they've changed. It could have gone easily. They've been flip-flopping the whole time. You could easily believe, no, they're not capable of changing. They're screwed. It's never going to work out with these 2 people. But because you put them through enough suffering, that's what people mean when they say the ending was earned. If you put the viewer through enough discomfort getting to the end there, and you keep the characters apart enough, that's why there's always a separation of the 2 main characters. In my script, she goes on a book tour, they're apart. It's a forced separation. Okay. Then you're ready. By the end of 90 minutes, you're finally ready for these 2 people to come together and you're willing to believe it. Okay. He changed or she changed.
I love this and I want this to go on forever. And as we do need to wrap things up, just to stay mindful of time, Courtney, you've given so much practical advice for writers and filmmakers, but is there any other advice that you would want to give a person who's on the fence about shooting their own film? What would you tell someone in that situation?
Okay, here's what I would say. I'd like to go through the back door. Like, I'm not really doing anything. I'm not making a movie. Like, just to trick my mind, okay? So that it's not all high pressure, high stakes. So just, camera. Whoops, you bought a camera or whatever. And then just kind of, you know what? I'm going to call my friend who has charisma or who's funny, and I'm just going to shoot them dicking around in my backyard. Okay. And then I'm going to just kind of see, what does that look like? Like, is it okay? You know, like I went over to my friend Greg's house and we shot in his kitchen, his bathroom, blah, blah, blah. I have a little video about that on my website, but it's like, it looked all right. It wasn't bad. It was fine. So it's like, if you just have some good dialogue, you've got a scene now. Okay. Like that's all it takes. So it's like, so just don't tell yourself you're going to make a movie. Just start turning on the camera, shooting your funny spouse, sibling, best friend, whoever's a ham, whoever likes being on camera, like get them on camera and just start making things that are not your movie to where you start getting comfortable with the idea of then shooting some things that are your movie, that are going to end up being your movie.
Since we're wrapping up, which I'm sad to do, Courtney, where can we find you? How can people find more? And besides the Amazon, she has 5 stars, no negative stars. Check the book out.
So my website is CourtneyDanielsFilms.com. I'm on Instagram at Courtney Daniels to you, Toyou. And yeah, my movies are on Amazon. Bedroom Story, What Other Couples Do, and This Fucking Town. This Fucking Town is not spelled out. It's F*%K ING. But you can find a link to it on my website.
I never thought about how that like the asterisk and the percent sign would actually like make it hard to find because it's not spelled out. But Courtney, this has been an absolute pleasure. The way we like to end it is we always give our guests the final word. So the mic and floor is totally yours, and I will pass the mic now and just be quiet.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to talk to y'all. I so appreciate it. The final thing I'll say is that I really, really hope that anyone out there who would like to consider filmmaking as their medium for expression, creative expression, I hope they go for it. I hope they don't wait for anything at all. Don't wait for money. I'm so tired of hearing people say they're waiting for financing. Do not wait for financing. You may never get it. Stop hiding. Stop hiding from the mission, as Seth Godin says. Just make something. And if you get my book, I really think you'll have just enough information to go for it. And I think you'll find it encouraging. I try to have an encouraging tone in the book because I really want you to go for it.
Thank you for joining Rick and myself on another episode of Origins, A Creative Journey, a Designer Con production. Please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, download and listen to us every place you get your favorite podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Origins, A Creative Journey, all one word. Drop us an email for thoughts, ideas, or maybe somebody you'd like us to interview at dconpodcast@gmail.com. And make sure you join us in Las Vegas for DesignerCon, North America's premier annual design convention. All the information can be found, including tickets, at designercon.com. Till then, enjoy your own creative journey.